For the longest time, Mufasa translated very clearly as king in Swahili, and Taka translated as trash. What did that voice sound like as a child? What did it sound like, as a young adult? What was the journey of it getting to the place where you could hear all that wisdom and gravitas? And it's one thing to see the lion, be sad or be angry or be grief-stricken, but when that's paired to a voice that's communicating the same thing, that's when it really sort of rises and gains its power.
Mufasa.
Prequels have the unique luxury of being able to build upon the legacy of an established franchise and also the opportunity to elevate the story that comes afterwards. With the original Lion King story being such a classic, what are you hoping that modern audiences will take with them after experiencing Mufasa?
I hope that they take away just like a new complexity to these characters. 30 years is a long time to live with something. It's sort of like, you just get like so accustomed to, this version of a character. In the original film, Mufasa's only in the movie for a very little bit of time. If you only spend 4 days with someone and you see nothing but the best sides of that person for those 4 days, that's kind of etched in your memory. And so I just saw a great opportunity to really build out this, the complexity and the nuance. And in some ways, the unexpected twists and turns that these characters' lives took to get them to become the people that we've known for 30 years. I thought that was a really awesome opportunity, and I hope that the audience takes away the same feeling.
Yeah, I hope so too. Musical numbers, especially in Disney movies, work best when they evolve the story further. What can fans look forward to when hearing the new original songs by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and what musical moment in the film are you most proud of?
I think that exactly the way you framed that question was how Lin approached this. I've never made a musical, and when he first came onto the film, he said to me, look, I think, I only want music where the film is sort of open to it, and whenever there is music, I'm really hopeful that it can help you tell the story rather than being a distraction from it. So this brother song that you saw, I always wanted a brother. It's this great number where you really come to understand Taka, who ultimately becomes Scar, and Mufasa and their dynamic, and they literally grow up, over the course of the song, and they kind of grow together over the course of the song. It's a really potent thing, I wish I had an in-scene trick that I could do that over the course of 30 seconds, in any other scene in the film. But it was a really wonderful way music kind of serves the narrative. I hope that when audiences see the film, they feel the same way. And I hope they feel like these songs, they're not meant to replace a song like Hakuna Matata or The Circle of Life, but they are meant to be extensions of this sort of like world, like the fabric, of the Lion King sound.
Absolutely. I always think names carry a lot of weight in stories. In the animated movie, the hyenas even get shivers hearing the name Mufasa.
Yeah.
And now in this movie, the character Scar is getting called by his actual name, Taka, for the first time. Can you explain how important characters' names in movies are to you as a storyteller?
They're very important. We made this film called Moonlight, and the main character's name was Chiron, which has a very particular sort of meaning and significance in Greek mythology. That was, gifted to me from Terrell Alvin McCraney, the playwright who wrote the source material for that. I think in this case, we're stepping into this world where Mufasa and Taka, who ultimately becomes Scar, their names have a very particular meaning. But you mentioned earlier about this idea of prequels breathing new life or, revealing new story to an audience. And for the longest time, Mufasa translated very clearly as king in Swahili, and Taka translated as trash in Swahili. And yet, in our film, you see that Taka actually isn't from the place that the Lion King is set. The film opens and Mufasa gets washed away to this faraway land. And so we mapped all these different places of where we felt the story took place and where Taka was from. And in that region, there's a saying, Roto Takatui, which translates in some ways to the Holy Spirit. Because what parent would name their child trash?
Obviously, yeah.
And so that was a really cool way, again, the importance of names could really breathe life and context, or I should say subtext, into the characters.
Wow, that's beautiful. Aaron Pierre is following the gigantic footsteps of the late, great James Earl Jones, who voiced Mufasa in the original versions. Since you worked with Aaron before, was he always your top choice for this role? And what was it that finally earned him this part?
You know, I always considered him for the part, for sure. You know, once, when I first read the script, you know, you immediately start seeing people, or in this case, hearing voices. You know, James Earl Jones has a very specific voice. You know, there's a gravitas, a rumble to that voice, and it's been in people's heads. As this character, and of course a few others, for 30 years, our job was, what did that voice sound like as a child? What did it sound like, you know, as a young adult? What was the journey of it getting to the place where you could hear all that wisdom and gravitas in it? And Aaron, of course, was one of the people who just had those qualities, but then he had to audition because it's a really, really important part. I mean, everyone in the film did. And ultimately, over the course of him workshopping the character, and it's all just, you know, these audio recordings, it was clear that if I closed my eyes, I could see how this person became that person. And because of that, he got the part. But it wasn't that we worked together on the Underground Railroad and I thought, oh, you're a Mufasa. No, he had to come in and earn it.
Having CGI animals that look absolutely real, voice actors have an incredibly tough job of conveying almost all of the emotions. We talked about it during the screening. How did you, as a director, make sure that that the actors' own voices are incorporated into your vision?
So it's the other way around in the case of how you make this movie. The actors' voices come first. And it's the thing that everyone's chasing. And so the very first things that happened on the film was recording all the voices of the actors. And then once Joy, our editor, edited together an entire just audio version of the film with their voices, then those things get broken up into scenes. And that's what the storyboard artists, the animators, that's what everyone's chasing. And so the visual representation of the characters, those are modeled after the vocal performances of the actors. And even, you know, we don't do motion capture, but we're always filming the video of the actors performing, and the animators get that as well. So all the emotion you're seeing in the animation, it's following from the vocal performance of the actors and not the other way around. So it's interesting. They don't have to like do a lot of work to match the animation. That task falls on the animators to match the sort of performances of the actors. I thought that was the best way to go about the process because, you know, when you're sitting in the cinema, you know, it's one thing to see the lion, you know, be sad or be angry or be grief-stricken, but when that's paired to a voice that's communicating the same thing, that's when it really sort of rises and gains its power.
What emotional journey do you want audiences to go through, and what are you hoping people would feel coming out of the theater?
Yeah, I think when you make a movie like this, as I've been saying, for 30 years, people have had a very fixed idea of who these characters are. And it's not about subverting those expectations, but I love this idea of nature versus nurture. And I think for the longest time, I think maybe we've assumed, I even assumed, it was nature that made these two characters the way they are. And I hope that through watching this film, they can really see the dynamics of nurture that were very much at play, especially because they end up sort of being raised by the same family, and yet because the one child is raised by the one parent and the other child is raised by the other parent, you can see how their paths divulge.
I'm super excited to see the entire movie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brett.